Ah,
Hey,
let me view you as my primary person on the screen rather than with myself side by side. Although I kind of like it that way, side by side.
I like it that way. I
Do you?
find it quite disturbing when sometimes people you speak to people on Zoom, and that's you can see that. And I think if they had side by side, they'd realise that all we can see is the top of their head, and they wouldn't do it. So
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
I keep myself in view.
My one caveat is I know that when we're side by side, when I look at you, I look that way. But when you're
Mm.
big on the screen, I look at you that way.
Ah, okay. I'll try speak of you, and if you suddenly find you're looking at the top of my head and nothing else,
Okay. You just fall asleep. Oh, let me put a shawl on. Ah, I'm a nut, you know? Ah, all right. So this is your closing part of your day, and it's the beginning of my day. I'm just going to name that.
mm.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's my reminder to take a pill that I took before the meeting, but then forgot to tell the reminder that I took it. 6 o'clock pill. There we are. It's done.
Yay. All the details.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
how are you this morning?
I am excited and a little feel
Oh,
pushed because I got up and I woke up 2 hours ago, and then I fiddled around with my computer trying to get my keyboards to work. There's, tech challenges. I started to spend time. I was like, I don't want to do that this morning. I have a keyboard that works, but it's not the one that works very well for me. So, and then I got my journal out, which I've been reading from 2 years ago, and I just started being completely creative and like excited about what I'm trying to get excited about in my life. Let's just cap it that way. And then I read something about a trip I took a couple years ago, and I got an insight that was so clear and so strong about myself, how I operate. And it just was like, oh, yeah, that's the piece. So I'm just like, as I was getting that, I'm looking at the clock and I like, oh, I'm meeting with Mike in 15 minutes. I haven't eaten. I haven't put clothes on yet. I haven't done anything to prepare. So I'm kind of like just there, here,
slightly frazzled.
a little bit, a little bit
Mm.
pushed, but a little excited at the same time. Yeah. And trying to just hold all that or let it go or whatever needs to happen so I can fully meet you here. Hmm. Oh, that's feeling better. Just.
Good.
Yeah. Mm, 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 mm. Mm. Yeah, slowing down.
Yeah, that's easy for me. I hope it's better for you as well.
Yeah, it is. I can feel myself here, and I can feel that you're with me, and I'm not just like vibrating at 100 miles an hour out here by myself.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah. Mm. 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 Ah. This is the best medicine for me. Or, yeah,
What, to just sit,
yeah, yeah,
connect, self-connect.
yeah,
Mm.
self-connect. And then, uh, and then be joined, be shit, there's, so I'm just noticing how supportive it is to be sort of fully present with myself, and then also, and including present with you, like in you present.
Mm.
Just calibrating. There's a thing that's like coming from me at hyperspace speed and you quite calm, and me like calibrating to find, you know,
Mm.
and then
Something I wanted to ask about that
yeah,
when you're ready.
I think you could ask now if you want. I think I'm
Yeah.
ready. I feel, okay, maybe take one big breath. I'm not sure if I need that, but
Mm.
yeah.
If in doubt, ring the bowl.
There you go.
God, what on earth are you drinking?
I know, and there's tons of it too in my giant mug.
It looks like pond. It looks like it came out of the garden pond.
It's not a tiny tea, is it? Um, yeah,
Mm.
it's kind of a mix of decaf coffee and a few herbal preparations and a tiny bit of cream and a little bit of mushroom powder.
Mm.
And it's,
Fuel
yeah,
for the day.
yeah, sort of. It keeps me, I'm a little cold. And I find that if I wake up in the morning and I have a ritual, make this drink every day, and sort of like, gives me, after my cold shower and getting up, it gives me kind of a thing to do to settle me or to like land me. And then I go to my journal or I did a few things else this morning. So this is my actual second cup. And then I don't know, it's kind of like a ritual, maybe. Got a bit of
Mm.
ritual energy for me. Yeah.
A way to start the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ah. And I noticed, wow, I'm still calming down to be with you because you have a speed that I really love. I really love your speed, or your pace, I'll call it, your presence. And I have a sort of a default to run away and speed up. And I just have to.
Mm.
Mm.
After during our time together last week, you pointed out about how I don't adjust to the speed around me. I stay at my own pace, and I thought I was kind of aware of that, but I hadn't considered actually that's quite important.
Yeah, that's a
I
gift.
hadn't considered that until you pointed it out,
Yeah.
and
I'm
I
not
think it's
thinking
something I've gained from Mickey's calls to be able to think about what's my capacity, and if I stay within my capacity, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that I haven't carefully studied it, but I'm pretty sure I'm more effective. I'm actually getting more, I'm accomplishing more.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes total sense. And I guess this is a reflection, maybe. I don't even know if you have a concern about this, but I see it as a gift. Because as you hold your own vibration, and then others are trying to find you, if you're always moving around to find them or try to capacitate, then it gets very messy. And but if you just hold, then they can, like, at least for me, I can, like, oh, that's where you are. I don't have to keep guessing, or we aren't dancing, we aren't, it's very consistent and clear. And do you know about nervous system regulation? What that means? It's a term we use.
Okay, no, I'm not clear about that term.
Well, I could use that language, but I think you got it. But it's sort of like someone like me, and I don't know if I want to just call myself out, but my nervous system is very easily activated. So from that calm, sort of open, focused place, I can get wound up really fast. And on my own and with others, because I'm very sensitive to others. So if someone's wound up and I come in calm and they're wound up, I can get wound up right away, and in that wound up state, our capacity is way reduced.
But that means that there's a gift that you have if you bring that consciously, that you have a great sensitivity to somebody else's state.
Yeah.
So you can read other people very accurately, I would guess.
Exactly. And the challenge for me is to read them without becoming them, unless so, or to kind of lose my own consciously chosen state of being in order to reach and find somebody else where they are.
And that's perhaps part of the patriarchal conditioning, that we're supposed to be like everybody else. That we're not supposed to be connected to ourselves. We're supposed to be connected to what the world demands of us.
Very much.
Rather than saying, no, you can't have that. This is me. I'm like this.
Right.
You can't
You
have
have
that.
to meet me. You have to serve me. Find me and be with me over here. And especially for women.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have that. That's how we deal with an infant who doesn't even know how to be, and the mother reaches in and finds that state and then reflects it, but also a good mother won't get lost in her child's distress. Instead, she reflects it. Oh, you're distressed. And then just holds a stable place that the child, kind of like what you do, that the child can find that stability through the mother and come back into a calm, regulated nervous system. So that's the regulation.
Part of what led me to my own pace was that I walk pretty well every day, unless the weather is really very cold, very wet, very windy. I'll go for at least a short walk.
Yeah.
And part of that is a sort of a moving meditation where I'm coming present to where I am. And one of the questions I hold is, what is the speed of presence? And generally when I'm walking, if I come to the place to present, I immediately, without even being conscious of it, I slow down. I start walking more slowly.
Yeah.
Like, to be here and to be present at this place invites this particular pace.
Yeah.
I'm finding my natural pace of of presence. So I think that regular practice is sort of bringing that speed into my everyday life.
Yeah.
That's the
This
speed
is
of presence.
this is the speed of presence. I just created an exercise for more than one. So when we're in several people together, kind of what is the speed of presence that allows all three to be present, self-present and present with the others.
Mm.
And the conclusion, my actual experience, and I learned this through dance, is to move at the speed and sort of the smallest, slowest person. If we regulate to that person, if we meet that person, that's the speed in which all three can stay connected.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah. How interesting that you and I both are very focused on this. What
Mm.
speed of presence? You know, what is like scraping off all the conditioning? What really serves us? You know, and who are we? And I have also, please speak.
Hmm?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something there as I.
No, I was just listening to what you were saying, taking it in.
Yeah.
So I was probably nodding in agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, what we are, not what
I'm,
we were told to be.
yeah, I'm aware that before COVID happened, I spent an hour every day swimming laps, which is very much like taking a walk. I get in, my body's moving, you know, there's a part of me that is doing the swimming, right? And I'm not
Mm.
just a head on top of a body. I'm actually, you know, I am my body moving through the water. That is happening, and my awareness is with that. And in that sort of steady sort of, I swim strong, but I'm at a pace that's correct. I don't know. Then what happens is I'm really present and some kind of receptivity opens where thinking stops and instead like inspiration or awareness of some sort happens. Like the difference, let me slow down because I access it so much when I just bring my body into that state.
Because swimming is an activity that, I mean, really, it absolutely insists that you slow down. I mean, if you walk too quickly, fair enough, you walk too quickly, but if you swim too quickly, you're exhausted very, very soon.
You're exhausted.
In a few minutes, you'll be.
And if you don't pay attention, you drown. You can't just forget you have a body because you have to breathe and, you know.
Too fast, exhausted, too slow, you're underwater.
Yeah. So it's like right at that pace that allows for an hour is a pace to keep for an hour. You know, it's not like I'm racing and pausing and racing and pausing. I'm like the whole time. Oh, just even thinking about it just brings me such ease. Oh, I don't know, it's just something very supportive, really supportive. And that practice gave me almost daily this hour of, you know, just be self. And I miss it. I haven't found a way to, well, there is a way. I have a hammock in the back. Do you see the one that's sort of swooped
Oh yeah,
across?
I didn't realize. Yeah.
That's a hammock that I made. I had no idea I would use it for this purpose, but I'm wanting to become regular in a practice where I put on the music. I used to swim to music. It was very, I'm trying to think of the word. It's very expansive, kind of crescendo-y, without a rhythm, but just this kind of, sort of, you know, inspires that in me to just kind of keep reaching and moving. And I'll get in the hammock with that music now, that same music that I trained for 2 years, a year, and have a similar experience to when I swim in the water.
Just like your body remembering what it was like when you were in the water.
Yeah. And I stay active in the hammock. I don't rest. The whole time I'm moving and actively aware of continually continually it's like I can't lose track of the fact that I'm a body moving, because I'm continually moving, and I'm not telling myself where to move. I'm letting my body move itself as it,
where it wants to go.
yeah. And that creates a state in me. It's like, this is what I do when I swim, and it's I'm hungry for more regularly doing that. I think that when I think that, I think, oh, I want to do that practice. But when I now like remember it fully in my body, I really want to do that practice more regularly.
Well, you've just remembered that you want to do that regularly.
Yeah. And maybe I'm trying to do it in the evening, and it could be that that's just not the right time of day, or because I used to swim in the morning.
What time of day did you used to go swimming?
I used to swim right at about 10:30, 11 in the morning. I'd swim for an hour and then come back. And so maybe that's where my energy is more. I'm just thinking, I could maybe switch things. Maybe right before I do a dancing event that comes at 12:30 every day, which is almost about the time I used to swim. So I couldn't, yeah. But this has brought a inquiry for me to like, okay, my intention in the evening to do that is not working out.
It's not the right time of day for it then, for you.
Yeah, something like that. That I want to do something different in my evenings than I have been doing. So I'm trying to like put that in there as a better choice than how I normally or fairly regularly choose to spend time, like after the evening meal. So maybe that's, yeah, I'm trying to weave back in journaling again, although I'm reading journaling, but the journaling itself also has an appeal. That's my head. Let me just come back in to be with you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you for reminding me when you talk about your walking. that's what sparked.
Just
Yeah.
sending myself a note.
Yeah.
Because I thought of something I'd like to do, which I think would support us working together. And it's been on my mind for a couple of weeks, and I keep forgetting. So if I write it down, maybe I'll remember. We talked about creating the container, and Diane and Trisha spent probably 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, spent an hour perhaps working on their agreements. And I was thinking it might be useful for us to borrow there, and it may be that many or most of those will suit us as well, as we're meeting in a very similar way. Not the same people meeting, of course, which maybe we'll want to make some changes.
Yeah.
But I thought it might be a good jumping off point.
Yeah, I agree. I liked, even when we did the first part, jumping off from some of their agreements, starting with some of that, something to start with, not just, you know. So I think I agree with you that, and let me see if I understand you, that what they did, was it last week or the week before? It was 2 weeks ago, I think, when we were witness, and they had already done some work, but sort of clarified their shared purpose, their shared mission, and their shared, what's the third thing? I forget, vision for their work together. Am I right?
Yeah.
So not these are mine and these are yours, but these are ours. This is together what we.
Yeah.
And it was,
so that's something I think we could usefully give some attention to in the next few weeks.
I'd like that.
Perhaps.
I'd like that.
You would. Good.
I would. Yeah.
And I'll review this, because you collected quite a lot of stuff from the transcripts of these conversations, didn't you? And I haven't looked at those for 2 or 3 weeks, and so I'd like to review that to see where we're up to.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I
because
think did I send you
I've track of where we are.
Did I send you some transcripts? Did I send you by email some?
You did.
Yeah, I think so. That's I could use a review too. And I know for myself, see, and maybe you're the same, I'm like a visionary. So if I don't have a structure, I just sort of keep expanding indefinitely. And
I enjoy it both ways. I find that can be interesting and could be quite a lot of discovery from an exploration like that.
Yeah.
And there are also times when it's useful to have some structure which informs how the time is spent. So I think both ways are useful. I'm just going to pull this blanket around. My shoulders are getting cold.
Yes, please. That I feel really happy to hear you say that, because first of all, I don't think I'd ever stop my tendency to expand. I don't know if there's a way to plant it. But I need support and help for the structure, because I find the structure helpful. And so if I don't have a clear structure, I just default into, the expansion. And
shall we have an agreement to have a structure for our next call, then, for next week's call?
I like it. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to suggest that there are sections in, the original document that we begin with that came from Emma.
Yes.
I find very confusing. It's like, I keep saying this, it's like looking at the lecture notes, somebody else's lecture notes from a lecture I didn't go to. So I find that document not that helpful, but it has got some prompts about the what's our purpose together. Do we have an agreed purpose? Do we have the values that we both bring? Do we have agreements about how we'll use this time? So I think it'd be useful if we looked at that document. And I know people have been working on that by taking a copy of that document and editing it. And I'd rather start from scratch, because I think then we're just adding stuff to a document that I already find confusing.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I am hoping maybe that you will continue to speak and clarify for me what you've just said, so that I can really see what it is you're saying and have like a little task or project or something that I know we're doing.
Okay, so what I'm thinking, we haven't got I don't believe we have a stated purpose for why we're doing this meeting each week.
Yeah, I agree.
And on the one hand, it's an enjoyable connect to disconnect and have a conversation.
For sure,
and
yeah.
on the other, the original intention was something around a life of purpose, because I think the idea was to get a purpose buddy. So in some way to support each other, moving towards living a life of purpose.
I'll stop for a second. I want to share a favorite quote of mine is, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Where does that come from? That sounds vaguely familiar.
I'd have to look it up and see if I have a person that said that. But so yeah, and that may have been interruptive, but I couldn't help it.
I'm trying. It definitely rings a bell, but I can't quite think who said or wrote that. I think I might have read it in a book.
I have it somewhere. If it was going to pull on your attention, that could be a piece of homework for me to see if I have the source of that somewhere, because I do have the quote in a spreadsheet somewhere in terms of some of my favorite quotes. So
if we are to keep the main thing as the main thing, then we need to identify the main thing.
What is the main thing? Exactly.
Yeah, what is this main thing? Or if the main thing is that we are in some way supporting each other, moving towards a life of purpose.
Yes.
How the hell are we going to do that? What?
It's like, wait, is there a roadmap, or are we just like gonna just entertain ourselves?
Where are the instructions?
Where's the manual? And you're saying, what I'm hearing you saying is that manual we've been given is perhaps useful, but also almost as confusing as no manual at all. Well, that's a little extreme, but am I hearing that correctly?
I think the sort of big the subject headings, if you like, in that document were things like the vision, like do we have a shared vision about this work, where it will what it the no holds barred, most never mind what's possible or not, but what's the beautiful vision about where this work will lead. So there's a vision, purpose, there's a mission, what we do to move towards and there's values. There's values, and there, because we're working together, there's agreements about how we will work together. And even I think there's a bit, what will we do? But we did talk about this, didn't we? Then I forgot to do anything about it. We talked about what do we do if we end up in conflict?
Right, that's one of our agreements that we would that we would name.
I was going to ask in the purpose group if any people would be willing to be first port of call if that ever happens.
That's one of the items on the menu for that purpose group, and Last week, I actually wrote down what I thought were some loose pieces, and Diane included some others, and that's on the list. So what I could say to you is, perhaps, through email or at our next group meeting, ask for that.
So if you think of it and I don't, could you give me a nudge on that on Wednesday, please?
I will do my best to remember that. And if I come in early, yeah. And I would suggest you also, I don't know how you keep your calendar, but this works for me sometimes, where I have my calendar set up to tell me, oh, I have a Wednesday purpose group meeting. If there's something I want to bring, I'll write it in the calendar. So that day, when I look at that, I'm reminded.
If I do that, then I'll see the calendar before the meeting and I'll forget by the time the meeting starts.
No, you could put it in the chat first thing, and then reminders help to review the chat. Could be helpful. And I can try to be your backup person, but I'm also a person who follows threads and doesn't necessarily have capacity to remember pieces that I thought I wanted to come in with, and then we went somewhere else and I completely forgot. But I am willing to show up as supportive as I can and mention that this thread is open. Mike, do you want to talk about it, or something like that, and point it back to you? Does that work? Okay.
Thank you.
That was a good example.
And it wouldn't hurt to stick it in my calendar so I get a reminder at 15 minutes before.
Exactly. It's a backup plan, or at least learning how we work and what works for us is, for me, I'm glad this is recording, because I realize that is a really important piece for me. What is...
Are you? Oh, yeah, you are recording. Yeah.
Yeah, I record us. That's how I get so I can transcribe it.
The transcript, yeah.
Because I want, well, let me just stop there, because that's said now. And it brings me to something I'd like to share, just whether we go into it at all today or not. But this insight that I had this morning was, let's see if I can do it in a sentence or two. I have perception that cues me, informs me when in a group, or even maybe with two people, but let's say group, when there's readiness for leadership, but leadership isn't happening. So there's like, here we are at the crux of, something, and someone needs to start it, like it needs that. And I believe I can sense that it's in certain settings. And what I require in order to step into that leadership role in that moment is knowing that I have a first follower.
Can you know that before you step in?
Well, let me give you an example, because I think it is possible. And I think knowing that helps me more frequently successfully take the risk and move into even a moment of leadership. What I read in my journal was I had joined into a party of unknown people. This was in a not completely unfamiliar environment, new people, new events. Here I am, a stranger. I made some connections with people just socially. And then this was a group that met regularly to do a circle of making music together. It isn't even really my thing. And as we sat in the circle, there was this pause and pause and pause. And I was like, I said to the guy next to me, someone needs to lead. It was obvious that just someone needed to start the spark, you know? And he turned to me and he said, it's you.
You say a job, it's your job.
And my first thought was me. I'm the stranger. I have no idea what goes on here. Why is it me? But I somehow took the challenge and thought, well, okay, let me tentatively start. And I started to make a little beat on the drum, which isn't even my thing at all. And it was kind of tentative, but then he joined right away and supported. And then there were two of us. Then there was an us, and that created, the whole circle started from that. Everyone sort of jumped in and, began to create this group activity, if you will, that was very much not really led by someone, but somebody needed to blow the first spark. And yeah. And that was
you to do that.
Yeah.
You needed to trust that guy would go with you.
I need to know he's going to throw a little fuel on the spark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just, my whole awareness fed me all these examples of when that has happened and when it hasn't. Like when I've tried to push myself into leading without having a second right there with me, and how it's hard. I just, can't.
Makes that first step terrifying.
Exactly. It's just way too terrifying. Too much.
It's in the no way zone, what Mickey would call the no way zone.
Yeah, no way. No way. And I just collapse and just give up, no.
So trying to force yourself to do that would not be useful.
No.
It's beyond capacity.
And see, not knowing that's what I need, the true real need, I just kind of wander in that zone of, why can't I get started?
And because of all those messages we've received from the culture, from the family, from teachers, from other kids at school, as soon as we see something we can't do that's beyond our capacity, if we're not careful, we're going to start beating ourselves up for it. Like, you should be able to do that. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Instead of realizing like, oh, I need support. That's a piece of support, right? And of course, my teacher, my culture teaches me, you don't need support, just do it.
Yeah, we are a nation of rugged individuals. We don't need help from anybody.
And if we think we do, there's something wrong with us already.
Yeah, we can wrestle a bear single-handed.
It's a no-win, right? So, yeah. So that was a detour, kind of, to explain answer your question about whatever it was. I'll get it in the recording. It was something about how can you know you have a second? Can we, can we have
Yeah.
a first, a first follower? Or
So
is
there
that
will be situations where you don't know, and those are situations. Okay, it's
right?
not. I'm not going to step up then.
Right. And there's ways to get a first follower before, right? To actually put that in
Yeah,
place,
yeah.
right?
If I step
You
up now,
do,
would you support
you,
me? Yeah.
you follow,
Would you?
like,
Mm.
hello. So just that is like, oh, here's a whole new, strategy for success, I guess, might
There's a
be.
TED talk about. There's a TED talk about. I can't remember exactly the words she used, but it's about. It's going from being from an inspiration to a movement. You get
Oh,
one follower when you've got a follower, two followers, you got a movement.
wow. I think that has informed me. The guy, well, I don't know if it's the TED talk, but maybe 5 or 6 years ago, at least, I saw he's kind of a personality now, and somehow I was subscribed, and he showed this in a dance setting, which I totally understand. This
Mm.
that concept where there's a like a concert, but everybody's sitting on the grass listening, group of hippies outside, and one guy gets up and starts dancing, and he narrates it, and he says, so right now at this point he could be looked at as the crazy person who just got up, and nobody wants to be associated with that crazy person, right? But then a person gets up, a first follower, and dances. And an important piece is he doesn't ignore that follower. He uh, embraces and dances with. He kind of like says, yes, let's dance together. We're both in this, right?
Mm.
And then that first follower creates a new dynamic. And then a third person comes and a fourth person comes. And then it becomes, at a certain point, it's cooler to be dancing than to be sitting judging the dancers. And it's a movement, from no dancing to everyone dancing, as
Mm.
yeah. And
Mm.
mm,
Excuse me, my eyes are tired. Excuse me.
that's all right. Please take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Please take care of yourself.
Mm.
So that'd be interesting. I don't know if that's the guy that did the TED talk. Maybe that's
Oh, it was a woman that did the TED talk.
okay. So it's different, but the same principle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to look for that video again, because it's probably 2 years since I looked at it, and a lot's happened since then.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time spent with Mickey.
Yeah. You're a different person now.
Yeah. I just worked out this morning that I can afford to sign up for this year's
Okay.
the next session. So if I do it, but I think it's the 15th or the 16th, there's that discount.
All right. Maybe I
The
will.
early bird
If
discount.
you're coming, I went to one and it was about Roni and it was deep and I missed part of it. And there was a big after party. And part of my debate around it is as I let me take a breath here. As I gain clarity about these things that you and I are working on here, I want to have time in my day to actually put them into action. And it seemed like most of my time I've committed is about experiencing and being in opportunities where my growth is happening, my growth is happening, my growth is happening. And I was wondering, like, well, so when do I take that growth and start leading with it, right?
Let's be using it. Yeah.
Yeah. So That's on my plate in terms of making a decision, maybe about Nikki.
So do you think maybe you won't do it this year?
I'm not sure. I think I would like to get real clarity about kind of weighing how much it's serving me, you know,
Mm.
and how much it's kind of more of a distraction or just sort of a, you know,
How
a
many years have
fascination.
you been to it?
Just one. I've only done one. Um, uh, so yeah, I'll have to think that because that is definitely a focus on leadership. And I'm just discovering how I can step into leadership, that I need a first follower. So maybe I'm actually can now take advantage of as much as she's talking about leadership, you know, since I might be able to be spending more time leading in that
Hmm.
sense.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, it's all right. Please don't apologize.
Oh.
I'm not taking it personally.
Mm.
And it adds punctuated pauses that are good for me.
Good. I had last night the best night's sleep I've had for quite a while,
Yay. Oh,
which was
oh,
good. And I
yay.
could do with a few more like that.
Ah, yes. Well, maybe, I'm just gonna color the universe with your brain gets it now, knows how to do a full night's sleep and had an experience. So the next one will be easier. And the next one after that will be easier.
It's my shoulder that wakes me up,
Yeah. So your
because
shoulder,
generally, without the tendonitis in my shoulder, I'm normally very good at sleeping. I go to bed at a regular time and fall asleep very quickly in a few minutes,
mm, mm,
and then wake up naturally the following morning after 7.5 hours of sleep.
mm.
So it's normally one of my superpowers, but it's the shoulders made it very difficult, because I'm frequently waking up in pain at sort of 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and
My
then
mind is
dozing but not really sleeping.
my mind's over here wondering if as as tiring as that pattern that your shoulder is creating in terms of waking up and waking up and waking up, especially now that you're getting some sleep, what's the gift that your shoulder is giving you?
Mm. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
hard to find.
tried I've tried asking for inspiration about, because if there's inflammation in my shoulder, is
Mm,
there anything that I'm doing that's causing the inflammation?
mm,
I had
mm,
heard, I don't know if this is true, whether it's a properly documented and tested medical advice or just one of those things on the internet that circulates, but I'd heard that sugar in particular and carbohydrates in general are inflammatory. And I went more than 3 months without any sugar in the summer,
yeah,
and it didn't get better.
yeah, yeah. I was thinking there may be something more along the lines of, so life isn't always easy.
Mm.
And so how do we manage when there's persistent, consistent challenge? And how do we care for ourselves when that's the case? And also possibly, if it's not sugar, this is the other track my mind made. And I don't know, because this is I have deep learning about how I hold my body in space, that my posture is deeply connected with my sense of empowerment. I don't know if we've done this a little before, but when I'm curled up, like forward, that reflects, it's almost like a loop that's, oh, I'm weak and I'm a victim, and then my body becomes weak, victimy, and then that posture tells my brain I'm weak and I'm a victim, and then I feel it even more, and it creates its own momentum. And when I have the capacity to notice that and choose to either through my posture find the stronger, I'm here, I'm, sitting within the gravitational field, both reaching down through my butt or my feet and also reaching up through my head. And that shifts what's going on in my mood.
I just remember something that happened last night, which may have contributed to a better night's sleep.
Ah, good.
Because I had got to the point where I thought I had a conversation with a friend who's done some alternative medicine training. And during that conversation, I said, I suppose I could sort of ask my body if it would inform me if there's something that I'm doing or something I'm eating or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was laying in bed ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And just holding that question about, is there, maybe I'll dream about it, is there something that I'm not learning, something I'm not hearing about that's causing this inflammation? And I remembered, a few years ago now, I went, and the trouble is it's a very long way away, and I've moved even further since then, but there's a practitioner of the Bowen technique in a town. Have you heard of the Bowen technique?
I have heard, I'm not sure which, yeah, tell me though. Yeah.
It's probably a 2 hours drive from here. And they wouldn't be able to do it during lockdown anyway. But
right.
When I had the treatment with her, it was strange, because it was when she sort of pushed or touched very gently, but in particular places on my body.
Yeah.
It was like thoughts came to mind. And at one point I thought, I said to her, I just realized that I'm thinking that if I don't hold my shoulder tight, my arm will fall off.
Wow.
Which is bloody ridiculous.
Well, it's ridiculous here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
was like some part, and I thought, I could just, and I remember that last night laying in bed, and I thought, I could just release that, and then trust that my arm won't drop off in the night.
Oh, wow.
I don't have to hold it on, it's fixed in place. So I'll try and remember that again this evening when I'm settling down to sleep tonight.
Write that one down.
I don't think I need to write that one down.
Put it by your bedside, because you might forget. And because it sounds like not only did you get the answer, but you also let it drop from your intellectualness into like, oh, right. Imagine trusting. Can I trust my arm's not going to fall off, or let it fall off, or whatever that letting go is?
Can I trust my body to hold that together?
Yeah.
So it might be that I'm putting strain on this tendon by just being holding all the time when I don't
holding
need to
your arms into place, and you're just constantly doing that, and your brain is going, yeah, we got to do that or else the arm's going to fall off, and it's become such a pattern and so habitual. You really are, not even right before bed, but even as you sit in your chair, maybe a couple times a day, ask yourself,
retraining.
Is there a way that I can let my arm and shoulder
doing it now and just think,
body.
oh yeah, can I just release it now and just
Yes.
trust that my body won't fall apart if I don't hang on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could have been a response that throughout my life I've had all sorts of sickness and frailties.
Yeah.
And grew up around it as well. My father was disabled by polio.
Right.
This was a long time ago, like 30 years ago, I did some Alexander technique.
Yeah, exactly. So now you know
And
what
they
I'm
do
doing.
that where you learn, they teach you to get out of a chair. And I would always, getting out of a chair, push myself up with my arms. And when he said, don't just put your arms, use your legs. And I realized in the moment I tried to lift myself from the chair with my legs,
Right.
I realized I'd learned from my father that my legs wouldn't be strong enough.
That's it. You
And
model
of course
that.
they were.
Yeah. But you just,
Yeah. So I'd learned that thing about powerless legs.
arms. It
And of
takes
course my legs
arms.
were easily powerful enough. It was just that I just internalized this lesson.
Yeah. And you never really experimented to find out a difference, because why would you? Because there wasn't even any question about,
Yeah, legs aren't strong enough to hold
why
you
should
up.
I try to do something different than what already works, right? It already works with the arms, right? It works every time. So why would I want to see if it does work without the arms, right?
And look, my arms haven't fallen off, so hanging on to them is working.
Exactly. And yet, over time, these non-aligned ways of moving take, the body finally kind of says,
So there's a mission there to retrain my mind to trust my body not to fall apart.
Yeah. You almost have to inhibit, the habitual, and just go, what if I don't do that right now? Is that possible? And let your body will know how to train itself. But mind has to let go of the tight, like, pattern belief,
It's noticing the pattern and choosing to act differently.
Because based on your experience, you didn't have to go, oh wait, how do I relax my shoulder? All right, this bone, this tendon, this, you didn't have to figure it. You just really had to allow the possibility of it, and then your body went, oh yes, let us find the way. And you are then witnessing your body let go.
And interestingly, it's not difficult and it's not frightening. It's not like when I say, don't be ridiculous, your body won't fall apart if you let go. I'm not arguing with myself. I'm not saying, whoa, just a minute, whoa, you sure about that?
No, I'm gonna die. No.
It's fine. No, I'm not. It's okay. It's not going to go horribly wrong. It's okay to just relax and let go.
Right.
It's like, it's a pattern.
Yeah.
If it ever served me, it's not serving me any longer.
There it is. Exactly. And it did serve you, or it wouldn't have started. There's some reason that it served you. And that's what's interesting is if you're in the trauma moment, re-experiencing that again and again, you don't actually have access to this other place that says, wait a minute, I happen to know that shoulders just don't fall off by themselves. Like there is some part of me that can rest in that, or even if it can't, it's willing to consider the possibility that other options are available.
It might be that there's something to follow backwards as well, because it just came to mind while you were speaking then, that if it ever served me, then it might be that I was adapting because I used to have terrible backaches.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually suffered backache for a long time.
Uh-huh.
Somebody many years ago, again, probably more than 30 years ago, a psychotherapist I was seeing said, just try every treatment that you can find until you find the one that works for your back, because every back is different. And eventually found a McTimoney chiropractor. And
Mm,
she did a mixture. She did remedial massage and McTimoney chiropractic. And that was what sorted my back out. And
mm,
that was probably in the late 80s or early 90s. It was a long time ago.
yeah. Right.
So I have not had serious back. I only get the occasional backache if I sit in the same chair in the same position for hours on end,
Yeah.
but not the same terrible back issues I used to get.
Right.
So it might be that I was trying to adapt so that my back didn't hurt.
Yeah.
And
And your shoulders
I
stayed
don't,
in the program, you know, your shoulders didn't get the
yeah,
message like, wait, you're part of this. You
didn't
can, your
get
back
yeah
knows
get
how to
the
hold you up.
memo saying the back's fixed.
Nice
There
job,
we are.
shoulder. Thank you so much for trying to take care of my
Mm,
back. You've done a great job. And now you can
great
take a
work.
break.
Don't need that
Here's your
anymore.
certificate of completion. We no longer, you know.
Mm. It's like, yeah, it's like so many. I hadn't thought of that in the physical terms, but I mean, there's many of the sort of the emotional
Yeah,
behavioral pattern that
yeah,
we have got from our childhood that
yeah.
are actually no longer working for us, but we haven't noticed we don't need them anymore.
Right.
I had
And
never thought of that in physical terms before.
yeah, yeah. And you know, as I just demonstrated, part of it is thanking it for the service
Mm,
it provided. So it feels seen and known and, you know, oh, okay. And then like uh, releasing it. We got it. We did it. We're done. Thank you. You know, now
of
you
course,
can,
I did it about 3 years ago, and we were talking about the inner critic, that critical voice we have that I think everybody has.
in this
And
culture,
the tutor there was saying about how that that was there for our survival. We don't actually need it anymore,
right?
but there was a time
It served
when we needed it. We depended on it to survive. And he said, you can't argue with it. You can't, because it's the voice of authority. It's the internalized voice of parents, teachers, what have you. And he said, you can't argue with it. You can't overcome it. What you can do is befriend it and find it a new job.
there you go. The new job.
Mm,
So it's thank you. Oh, wow, you've worked hard all this time.
mm,
And rather than like trying to deny you, I can have compassion for that hard job that you were trying so hard to succeed at. Wow, you were really trying to take care of me. And you did a great job of it. Whew, right? Oh, wow, that's a lot of years of holding on to certain muscles to make sure that my back doesn't
mm.
hurt or that I stay safe. Ah, and
So I
now,
think a great time for me, because I don't go to sleep the instant. In fact, I don't even try to go to sleep the instant I go to bed, because I quite enjoy just laying there and just enjoying what my body feels like.
there you go.
So that's a really good time to practice that is as I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
I have some I've got a an Amazon Echo
Ah,
gizmo.
talk to it and tell it.
So it plays some soft
There you
ambient music for an
yeah.
hour.
And just befriend and
And I just
oh, see if it can allow it. See if you can allow see if it can allow you to release it from that task.
mm.
And
Yeah, well, look, we've gone we're past an hour
I know
and I'm
you're
kind of
close
full.
again. Okay, that's
I'm
good.
kind of full because that's the really useful information that I need time to absorb.
Perfect.
And it might be there's more, but it's not time for more for me now.
So we'll set that aside.
Not
That's
quite sure how we got to that, but I'm really glad we did. That was valuable. Thank you.
you're welcome. That was for me asking you what the gifts. We started with that, just to let you know.
Mm.
Ah,
Yeah, it was an interesting thread, wasn't it? We went from there through the Bowen technique to
yeah. And we just let
the
it,
body not falling apart.
we gave it a direction. This is like what we're talking about though. If we can name what the goal is or what the inquiry is,
Mm.
then we can sort of sit back and uh, listen.
So there's definitely value in following a random thread as well as beginning with a mission and a purpose. So
Yeah,
perhaps we should include that in our agreements, that sometimes we meet and we just follow a random thread and see where it leads us.
yeah. Pick a direction and
Sometimes we
then,
have a
yeah. And that'll be in the
sometimes structure,
recording.
sometimes not.
That'll be in the
Oh yeah,
recording.
I don't need to write
I
that down,
think it's
do I?
also a bit in the way we say we work, but we can review that.
Yeah,
I will commit to distilling down what some of what we've said here.
thank you.
Perhaps, if you're so let me think about this, how much work I want to put into that.
Hmm.
Um, I am able to, if you're interested, send you a link so you could listen to this recording or watch it again. And I think that might be useful for you in terms of this whole shoulder piece, but maybe you don't need that. But if you want it, it's there. And that would be a part I would just give you without editing. And then I can, I have the capacity and willingness to sort of try to pull out the pieces that are about our meeting and how we want to structure our meeting, or that piece that we
Hmm.
started with.
So I'll commit to doing an outline of what we might do to agree our values, purpose, mission, vision, and so on.
Okay, like what
And I'll
steps
wait
you
until
want
I've
to do?
seen
Yeah,
I'll wait until I've seen your transcript before I do that.
okay.
And I very much doubt that I would be motivated to watch the recording.
Or listen,
I
because it can come just as audio if you want.
I
Just
would much more likely to find the words useful, the
written.
transcript
Okay. Well,
written.
that's the other thing
Yeah,
you can do is I can actually throw the whole thing in a transcript, only edit out the parts that I'm agreeing to do, and ship the whole transcript to you so that you
that'd be
can read
great,
it.
because then I can just scan forward to the bit that
Yeah,
I'm. But I mean, the thing we've talked about, the shoulder, I think that's all,
I think
that's in my memory.
it's probably all there, and just wanted to give you the
Mm.
option. So I'll send you, since I'm going to make the transcript, I'll send it anyway, and then you can decide if you have any
Right.
use for it, because it's not extra work for
If
you.
if I get into bed tonight and I go, what was I going to do again?
Yeah, yeah,
Then I'll watch the video.
there
But
you
I'm
go.
pretty
Yeah,
sure I'm going to remember.
yeah,
When
yeah,
I get those aha moments, I normally remember those.
yeah. They're deep, and then it's just kind of recalling the
Yeah.
moment and letting it come back in again. Set your mind to what was the aha, and then relaxing
Mm.
and allowing,
And
and
it
here it comes.
connects really nicely with other. So if it's out on its own, then that's when I might need a good reminder. But when it connects up with other thoughts and experiences,
Yeah,
I
your
think it'll
memories of
be
falling,
remember.
memories of your father, all those pieces are
Yeah,
in
the
this.
memories of the Bowen technique and
Owen, all
the inner critic.
your intelligence just brought you all
Yeah.
this on this.
Mm. It's sort of, it's made of the stuff I already had. It's
Yeah, yeah.
mm. Are we complete for today? Are you complete?
Yeah, I want to take at least 1 minute of just sitting with you
Mm.
and sitting with me, and maybe a little longer.
Yeah. Shall I ring the bell,
That would
the
be,
bowl,
that can't hurt. Yeah,
and then after about 2 minutes, I'll ring it again.
that sounds
How's
perfect.
that?
That sounds perfect.
Do you hear that? Okay.
I did.
Good. Mm. Mm.
Ah, perfect.
Ah, just enjoy. I'm just noticing consciously for the first time and enjoying. You're surrounded almost exclusively by warm colours. You've got the shawl that's sort of apricot orangey colour, and there's all those beautiful warm colour lights behind you, and the towel, the hammock, the moth.
Everything but the blue couch, which I found on
Yeah,
the
there's blue
sidewalk.
couch. But apart from the blue couch, you've got warm colours.
Couch. It's too cold and it's too blue, but it's somewhat comfortable. Yeah,
Mm.
physically. Mm, mm.
This
So
has been lovely
yes,
and valuable.
thank you. I
Some
I have found it
useful.
all of that as well. And,
Good.
I'm feeling deep appreciation.
Mm. So there's even your hair matches the warm colours.
I know, not my
Excellent.
shirt. It's black and white. I found that too. Ah, definitely.
So same time next week,
Yep.
6 p.m. my time.
Yep.
Lovely.
All right. Sleep well.
See you then, and see
Okay.
you before as well.
Yep.
Have a lovely day.
All right. You too.
Bye bye.